Every word, deed, thought from the moment your soul is incepted is recorded in the Akashic field. The Akashic Records is an infinite field of possibilities. So you can think about it like a computer database for your soul, like a Google search engine. And you can go in there and ask questions about any and all areas of your life. So if you want help with switching careers, or you want help with building a garden, or you want help with just how to feel good or how to communicate with your partner, the guardians, also known as the masters, teachers, and loved ones, they're going to support you and give you answers based on the questions that you ask. And they give you answers with non-judgment. They know you are a soul having a human experience, and so no question is too big or too small for them. You don't have to show up perfect. You don't have to show up proper. All you have to do is just show up and ask questions. And they absolutely love supporting you in any and all areas of your life.
Okay, but how do we ask these questions? Do you have to verbalize it, or do you have to think about it, or do you have to speak with your heart?
So the questions are really important. And I think that this is sometimes the most overlooked process in spiritual practices are the questions you're asking. Because if you're asking the wrong questions, you're going to get the wrong results, or you're not going to get the results that you want. And so asking open-ended questions and having an open, honest perspective with yourself on, are you being open to receiving more? And are you digging deep enough? The more that we awaken, the more that the veil thins, the more that people are hearing about the Akashic Records. And if you're someone that's listening to this today and your heart is like getting very curious about it, or your ears are perking up and it's like, ooh, what is that? Or maybe you've heard about it before. The records speak to you when you're ready, which I find beautiful, because oftentimes I'll find people that are like, I have heard of the records in the past, and they just like, I always thought it was like crazy, or I've just heard about this today and I need to know more. And so it just depends on the person and where they're at in their journey. And sometimes people have heard about it in the past and they just didn't hear it from the perspective in which they were meant to connect with the records, because there's so many different perspectives of how you can use the records and how you even access the records as well. And the perspective has to match your residence, and it has to match your journey on where you're going as well. And I'll have students that have taken other courses in the past where it just didn't work for them. And I'm like, don't lose courage, because if you're still connected and you're still curious about it, there's a reason. You just needed to get a couple little pieces of things from those teachers. And now you got to find the right teacher for you. And if it's me or someone else, you just got to find the right teacher. And I think that that's important.
Yeah, I've been reading your website, and it says, you have a line over there saying, in the trenches of life. I love that. Life is a battle. You've been in the trenches, fighting your battle.
Yeah.
And then,
Being human's hard. It
I
really
know.
is complicated.
Yeah, we may look like we have everything easy, but it's hard, behind the scenes.
We're very complex beings with emotions, and we're taught to don't cry, don't do this, don't do that. And I have a toddler right now, and it's actually quite refreshing to see her process her emotions in the moment, because she's upset about a toy, or like I just dropped her off at our sitters this morning and she was upset that she couldn't take the unicorn outside because she wanted to nap with it later. And she's upset in the moment, and that's the problem. As adults, we don't feel safe enough to process our emotions in that exact moment in the way that is healthy. And then you bypass it, you shove it down, and then you forget to go process it later. And so if you can't process it in the moment, the most important thing to do is check back in and process it later. Because if you were upset, you were disappointed, you were angry, you were mad, you were disenchanted, whatever it was that you were in that exact moment, We were gifted with emotions, and we're meant to feel that emotion to process it because it allows us to grow. And if you don't process it, what ends up happening, it takes up space and it festers until you actually process it.
Also, on your website, I saw about you work with the frequencies. You said that you have to match the frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to continue my question. I'm going to put my 5 cents here about myself. I used to work in Hollywood. And I think I didn't match the frequency at that time. I wanted to be a big film director. So what happened? Something it didn't, because Hollywood has a specific frequency, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not necessarily very
Absolutely.
high vibrational frequency,
No, I agree with that.
right? This is why most of the successful movies are about war and about horror movies, and you see spiritual movies very seldom. It doesn't sell. So I was not able to make it in Hollywood properly. So why do you think that happened? Do you think my frequency didn't match the frequency of the location or the occupation I was trying to?
Um, can I share what I'm getting from the records
Sure,
with you?
please.
Yeah. So it there's two things, and the way that I see it is it's kind of like a puzzle piece. You're not a cube. You and I don't even know what the shape is, but it's like it's not a cube. It has long angles. So you
You
have a
can draw it if
long.
you have a piece of paper.
Yeah,
You can.
I'm gonna draw it just because the way that I'm seeing is really important. So there's these little tiny like this is how I see this. And I don't know what shape this is. It's kind of like a pyramid with the triangle chopped off on
Okay,
the
it's like
top.
a hat, almost.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a hat. The way that they're showing me is in Hollywood, in order to fit in the puzzle, you have to be a cube. You're not a cube. So no matter how much you try to fit that puzzle piece into that slot, you're never going to fit. You're too big. Like the size of it's too big. And so part of it is um, it wasn't, you were meant to go and do those things to discover other things about yourself to get you on a different path. And it's not that you can't become a film director, a film producer. It's you just weren't in the right space, in the right location, in the right and surrounded by the right people. And the cool thing about what's happening in the film industry right now is it's evolving. And there are different channels that are popping up, and there's different places that are people that are involved and where there are more spiritual things coming forward for us to. There's just a movie that's coming out about the Anunnakis right now. Like that's cool. Like that is so neat to think about. And so they're saying it just wasn't the right space for you. And part of that chapter was to recognize all of the gifts that you have and to build those gifts so you can apply them later. And I don't know if you're still doing film projects, but I see you doing something interesting in the next few years that's going to really like set your soul on fire.
I feel very at home doing this podcast, the spiritual podcast. It feels very normal to me, and it's like I'm doing the right thing right now. But maybe in the
Love
future
it.
I'll do a spiritual documentary or something. I don't know. We'll see. But these podcasts are amazing. It's like every podcast is a small documentary film for me. This is how I see it, you know,
Yeah.
because sometimes you can have a movie and it has one. It might not have a distribution. It might only can get 100,000 views or something. But one video can get 500,000 views right here on the.
We're changing. Like the industry is so changing now, and it's to me it's so fascinating because um how things are produced and how people can create content now and just upload it and be their own, director and things like that. I think it's just so incredible on what we have access to and what's possible if you're willing to put the time and energy into it. And I'm excited to see what happens with the film industry and things like that that's coming up, because there's, like, I just did an interview with someone that just did a self-produced documentary, and he's giving it away for free. It was a beautiful documentary, and he's just giving it to his list for free because he wants people to grow. And that's the cool thing about the age that we're in, is there's so much information out there. It's like, what are you consuming that allows you to grow? Because if you're not consuming things that allow you to grow, it's making you go backwards, or it's keeping you stuck.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about meditation because it's another, you have to be very disciplined to meditate because it seems boring. You have to sit, you have to breathe, you have to imagine something, you have to count your breaths, and then do some. It's like a waste of time for a lot of people, you know. So, how do you advise meditation, like little steps, like you said, so you can improve them and don't? Because if you start, a lot of gurus they say, okay, you got to do 1 hour a day.
That's too hard for
Some,
some
I
people.
know, some say you got to do 1 hour a day in the morning, 1 hour a day in the evening. You got to sit and face east.
So there's all these rules. I'm a big believer in no rules. Like, so, and what do I mean by that? The rule is what works for you. Because I'm not in your body, I'm not in your house, I'm not in your soul, I'm not in your head. What works for you? And the way that I was taught to meditate is you meditate first thing in the morning, you sit up nice and tall with your back up against the wall on a pillow, and this is the best way to meditate. And eventually I grew so tired of the practice because my body didn't want to meditate like that, because it wanted to integrate things laying down. So I'm a big believer in, you listen to your body. What position for meditation does your body want to take? Is it laying down? Is it standing? Is it walking? Is it sitting? Is it squatting? Is it in child's pose? Like, what is it? Do you want to do a moving meditation? There are no rules when it comes to meditation. The only rule is show up and actually do it. And how you show up and do it, you don't get a reward for doing it perfectly. The reward is just showing up and re-regulating your nervous system and being open to receive the answers to your prayers, because that's what we're doing in meditation. There's this misconception where it's like the mind has to be clear, completely clear, in order for it to work. The mind does not have to be clear in order for it to work. What has to be accessible to you is the willingness to try, and that's it. Only thing, just the willingness to try. And if you sit down, like in my previous career, I was busy. Like, I worked a lot, and sometimes I would be so stressed out where I couldn't work out. I couldn't meditate in the morning because of my schedule. And so I would go in the afternoon on my lunch break, and I would just go meditate in my car. And I would lean the seat all the way back, and I would just meditate. And there is no perfect spot for you to meditate. The spot is whatever works for you. If you're a busy parent and you have children always interrupting you while you meditate, go in your car. Maybe you go to the grocery store. Before you go into the grocery store, maybe you don't go with your family. You just go meditate for a couple of minutes before you get in. You set a timer on your phone. The thing that I find the most interesting about meditation is, the more willing you are to try it, the more magic you'll see from the practice itself. And the most important thing to remember is it's a practice. And every day you are different when you show up for that practice. And so some days are great, some days are super yummy, and then there's days that are super challenging. No matter what, if you can just sit there for 10 breaths and breathe and remind yourself you're safe, you'll get max benefit out of it just for the day.
Yeah, yeah, that's already an achievement. You just make a check mark. Okay, I meditated today. I got my, I got that in my schedule. 10 breaths, like you said. Yeah, that's already an achievement. But I notice, for example, if I walk barefoot to my garden and I look at the vegetables, how they grow, and I look at a tree. If you live by the ocean, let's say, of course, you look at the ocean. That's very soothing for your soul.
Yes.
That's meditation, just sitting and looking at the
Yes,
sunset and
just
the
sitting
yeah,
there. And you don't even have to close your eyes. Like
yeah,
that's the beautiful thing about it is if if you are in a state of constant stress or you're just stressed out for the day and you want to go to the ocean, you can literally just take your phone out, play some ocean music, and take yourself there because your mind doesn't know the difference between reality and fiction. And if you imagine yourself there and you're just listening to the ocean, that is a form of meditation. Or if you actually can go to the ocean, which is awesome if you
yeah.
can, and you look at it, that's beautiful.
Have you ever taken a
Say that
train?
again.
Did you ever take a train to travel somewhere?
I haven't. That is on it honestly is on my bucket list of things to do.
Okay, I was going to give you an example. Well, here where I am in Eastern Europe and Europe in general, train traveling is very, very popular. I used to live in the Soviet Union, and we took a lot of train trips. And you're sitting in the little room like a coupe, and you have the big window,
Uh-huh.
and you see all this, and the train is moving. It has a little, it has a rhythm.
Yes.
The wheels are they hit the railroad, and it gives you a rhythm. And you see all these images flying by. It's so soothing. It's so beautiful. It's so relaxing because you go into and it's always like a vacation. You're going somewhere. It's like you left all your worries behind and you didn't arrive to the new worries yet. You are in between. You are in the state of meditation. And why I'm telling you this story, yesterday I was browsing the internet and I see this guy. He built a room in his house exactly like a train boot. Exactly. I mean to little minute detail. And he placed a big TV screen and it looks like a window. And you can't
I
even.
love
I'm
it.
telling you, I'm gonna send you a link for that. It's amazing. I would like to do that. My
Please
house.
do.
And then you enter that, and you hear the noise of the moving train, and you see the images going by, and it's so soothing. You're sitting. Okay, I'm going on vacation. That's your meditation room right there.
I love that. See, that's it. That's the beautiful thing. It's like you listen to your soul, and clearly that guy like really knew that that was something that was soothing for him, and he enjoyed it. So that's so neat. I love that because when you know what works for you, and you know what calms you, it's so helpful because we have so much noise. We have noise with social media, noise with the TV, noise just in general. Like I find like us humans and just nature, it's so noisy, and we need something that allows us to just be entranced in a positive way because we're entranced a lot. Like if you're watching TV, you're entranced. If you're watching the news, you're entranced. And so what I find really beneficial is when you find something that entrances you, that takes you somewhere, that allows you to have self-realization, you're onto something, and that's beautiful. It's magic. It's absolute magic.
Yeah. Now I know you work with depressed people. I want to ask you about depression.
Mhm.
Aside from health conditions people have, why people are depressed? What's the main reason for depression other than medical condition they have?
So this my very first teacher told me this, and this I find to be true for most people. And she said, Amy, depression for you is a cry for creativity. And so we are here to create. And when we are depressed, we are like compressing something. We are compressing our creativity, our creative energy, our creative outlet on life. And so when we go out and start creating, we find outlets to make things that become beautiful. And it doesn't matter if it's something that you're making to sell. Like, it has nothing to do with it. It's about making something that brings you joy. And so for me, like, I find lots of different things that bring me joy, like putting together. I know we were talking about gardening earlier, but like, I have over 60 house plants. One of my favorite things to do is, one, water my house plants, talk to my house plants, repot my house plants, play in the soil, play in the roots, look at them. Like, it is something that I get to co-create with them, and it brings me so much joy. And that's the part that I find interesting, because I go through points of melancholy and I go through points of depression depending on what I've experienced in my life. And oftentimes, when you are depressed, it is something that your soul is trying to co create with the universe. So you've got to ask yourself, what is it that I want to create right now? And it could just be as simple as going to make a cup of tea to start with, or making a cup of coffee, or making a beverage that brings you joy. Whatever it is, go and make something, and it will start to assist you in getting out of that darkness.
Yeah. For me, for example, if I feel down a little bit, I can go on my computer. I have a lot of podcasts to edit. They all in line. So I just start editing something and like mindlessly. It's not big creativity here, just cutting out the noises and editing. And it draws me in. I forget about everything. And I love it, So
Yeah,
I
because
feel
you're
better.
creating
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
cool.
It's just work, but yeah. Also with the garden, you mentioned garden. I know I look at this, I go to my garden too, there's a lot of weeds. And I have to clean the space behind the good plant. And I say, all these weeds. I talk to the plant, I say, oh,
You
poor
got
thing
to.
here.
They love it.
I know. I have to take care of you. Why are you here in the middle of in the middle of all these weeds? And I have to clean those weeds. And I say, okay, now you're good. Now we'll see how you're going to be tomorrow. So I talk about that too.
I love
Yeah.
it.
All right. Let me see what else should I ask you. Let's come back to the Akashic Records. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? So people can plug in into the Akashic Records through meditation, through prayer, or just being calm. How that work for a regular person? I know you spoke a bit about this, but let's come back because it's important.
Yeah, so there's so many different ways to connect with the Akashic Records. Um, for me, what I've discovered is I was connecting with the Akashic Records when I was a kid, and it nobody taught me it. I just was connecting to it. And so there's parts of our soul that understands how to connect to certain things, and it can be from previous lifetimes or on a different timeline. Um, there's there's a prayer method. There's I've heard some people do like very long rituals with it. um, it can be done through meditation. The main thing is whatever method calls to you is the method that's really important to use. For me, I teach my clients using the crystalline energy and a simple prayer, and we're in less than 5 minutes. And you can go in and out and ask questions and get out of the records all within 5 minutes. You can stay in there longer, but it just depends. So the way that I teach it is you can use it for the past, the present, and the future. I don't want to just use it for the past because, one, that would get really heavy. And if you're only using a tool for heavy things, chances are you might stop using the tool. For me, I love exploring past life regressions. I think they're really cool. I really love it. They're fun to explore. But I also want to use the records for having fun. I want to, like, hey, like, what can I create today that's going to bring me joy? Or, hey, what type of food will make me shift my frequency to feel more calm? Or, hey, I've been dealing with headaches for the last week. Why is that? What's coming up for me? What am I meant to be looking at? Um, Is it just allergies or is it something else? And so that's the cool thing about the records is it's really infinite on how you can use them because they are infinite. And the other thing that I love about the records is they're not static, they're not fixed, just like we're not fixed. They're evolving. The records are evolving as we're evolving. And that's why you're hearing more about the Akashic Records than ever before, because people are waking up and there's all these different ways of going into the records. And I love it because what happens is because the more people that go into the records, the bigger of a vibrational pull towards them there will be, and it becomes easier for people to access them as well. And I think it's everybody's birthright to be able to access their records and to receive information in their records as well. It's a library of your soul.
So how this accessing the Akashic Records helped you personally in your life?
Yeah, so for me, it has allowed me to become a better communicator, a better communicator with my feelings. I'm like, why am I feeling that way, and what do I need to process, and then taking accountability for my shortcomings, but also being able to speak up for myself and hold boundaries with loved ones and friends and family members and coworkers, because for me, the way that I grew up in my trauma response was to either freeze or to go silent or to brush it under the rug, depending on what it was, or to fight. So, like, it depended on what it was and on what the situation was. And then I would become wrong in the situation because of the way that I ended up reacting or underreacting. And so it's allowed me to become a better communicator. The other thing is, it's allowed me to manifest all sorts of different things in my life. From my business, never once in a million years did I think I would be teaching the records or be speaking to you or to have an online business, a coaching business. And so I built my entire business using the Akashic Records. So from my marketing plan to my sales plans to my funnels to my pages. And so it's allowed me to do that. And then it's allowed me to get answers on health stuff as well. I can't promise people that they're going to get answers on health stuff, but it's really has helped me with my health and like things that I've struggled with in the past and overcoming those things, or being able to get support systems with my health as well, which has been really tremendous because for a long time I dealt with a lot of nerve issues. And I've been able to find the right support systems just by asking questions in the records on like how I can help heal my nerves and what that looks like, and what doctors to talk to, or what healers or practitioners to talk to help me with it as well.
Yeah. To me, it seems like me, including all the people that I talk to, spiritual people, that we are all a little bit crazy.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. And
Yeah.
we've all had some kind of bad childhood, maybe not, but something was messed up, and you always think, okay, what's going on here? Something is not right. I got to find out. And eventually, you find the answers. Like
Yes.
you started to plug into the Akashic records and you get the answers. Me personally, let's say I started the podcast to find the answers too, because I hope this helps to a lot of people, but also it's for myself. I get to speak to you and other guests, which are very interesting, and I have a great conversation. That's very rewarding to myself.
Yeah, I think we're all like in the process of understanding our trauma, even if people don't understand that they have trauma, because oftentimes some people think that they've never experienced trauma in their life because they think it needs to be a really big ordeal. The analogy that I like to give is you could have had a trauma that happened in childhood just by dropping an ice cream cone on the ground and your mom saying, "Hey, you made a mistake. I'm not getting you another ice cream cone. You got to deal with it." And from that response, you created this need to be perfect scenario in your head, because otherwise you'll get in trouble and you'll miss out on an opportunity if you make a small mistake. And so all of those little tiny things, the what people say and how we internally internalize it, is all a part of our reality and how we make our reality and how we're responding to our reality.
Okay, Amy, let's ask some questions. Let's ask Akashic Records some questions. First question is this: how the universe was created?
Oh, that's a good one. Um, Let me ask them because I have the records open. Yeah, so what they're showing me, it's a particle of thought. So they're just showing me the sacred geometry. So they're referring to the sacred geometry because sacred geometry is the glue that holds the universe together. And so when that was created from that particle of thought, that's how everything started to form through those particles.
So you think it was a creation, or the universe or the source or God, it always been? My personal perception, my personal thought about this is this: that God, the source, the universe, whatever you can call it, it's always been, always. It was never created, it's never going to end. We cannot comprehend that because we have limited minds,
Yeah,
and
there's
we
no beginning.
cannot comprehend, we cannot comprehend something that doesn't have a beginning and the end. You just can't. We cannot comprehend there is no time, unless there's a lot of, I have many guests that had near-death experiences, and they know for sure there is no time because they've been in a timeless space. There was no time.
There is no time. And so if they're saying, the guardians are saying a particle of thought, well, who created that particle of thought? So
It was always there.
yeah, it's always there. So
That's,
it's the chicken or the egg, what comes
yeah,
first. And
yeah.
so it's I think that all I see when you ask that question is sacred geometry. And so sacred geometry is a part of us. And I think it's interesting that you asked me about the film because they were showing me the shape. And so we're all these different shapes made up into all these different energy forms. And so how they interact and what they're doing, because everything moves in a circular motion with our spiritual laws. And so there is no beginning and there is no end. And nothing is, we live in a linear timeline, but nothing is linear. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Nothing is linear. It goes into the spirals, always evolves in a spiral. That's not a concept I have. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. This is my own personal concept.
Well, it's we don't see the unseen until we're ready to see it. And things that we experience in that particular time, we have a particular perception of it. And because we are spiraling with time, even though there is no time, but have time in this human body, what I find to be so fascinating is when you get another piece of the puzzle to what that experience was that blows your mind. And you wouldn't have been able to perceive it or understand it unless you experienced all those other things that you experienced up until that moment in time. But because time doesn't exist, there's things that are already in play that you've already set in motion to happen.
That was a mosquito. I'm sorry.
Did you
Go
get
ahead.
it?
I don't know. Okay.
But there's things that we set in motion a long time ago as a soul that we don't fully understand until we have certain experiences. And the more I do this work, the more that I'm like, that's crazy. Like I had a loved one come to me that has transitioned, and he explained something to me from my childhood, and I could see it all merging together. But if you would have told me that when I was 18, I wouldn't have understood it because I wouldn't have had the capacity or the perception to understand what that was.
All right. We're going to talk more too with Akashic Records, if you don't mind. My next question to Akashic Records: through you, Amy, is this. What's your definition of God?
Oh, that's a good one. So I'm going to give you my belief on this. So there are many titles for God. It's whatever sacred title you give that sacred being. Um, I will use titles interchangeably just because I want people to understand that I'm talking all about the
Yeah.
same thing. But the title that, what my belief is God is creation. And what we talked about earlier is we're here to create, and we are creations of God, and we are creations of creator, or creation of creation. And we are all of the elements that have been made up into this soul, so we can have these different experiences, and that we can grow and we can have better understandings. But to me, God is creation, and it's as simple as that. It's not a simple answer, but it is a simple answer. But it's creation. It's what it is.
Okay, good enough. Next question to the Akashic Records or to Amy, whoever can answer this. Do you believe in Jesus? And if you do, who do you think he was?
So this is an interesting question. So this is the Guardians are sharing this. There are many Jesuses. So what Jesus are we talking about? Because this goes back to how it's important to ask a certain question. And so I'm assuming you're talking about the biblical Jesus, right? Okay. So um, there's many false light beings that pretend to be Jesus. And there are many people that talk to false light beings that they think honestly they're talking to Jesus. Um, the biblical Jesus that we are talking about is an ascended master that people can talk to. It's very important that they understand that they're talking to the right Jesus, because what happens. So just to answer your question, do I believe in Jesus, or is there a belief in Jesus? Yeah, Jesus did exist. I believe in Mother Mary as well, and things like that. Um, the most important thing that the Guardians are wanting me to share is whatever your belief system is, no matter what, it's really important to use discernment in whoever you are talking to. It does not matter what whom you are praying to. It's important to know if you're praying to the actual being that you think you are talking to.
Okay. Next question to you, Amy, or to the Akashic Records. Do you believe in hell?
There are such things. There are hell realms. Yeah, absolutely. Do I think that when people like, do I believe that, oh, people go to heaven, people go to hell? I don't believe in that. I believe that when you transition, you go to a certain level of consciousness to work through the things that you need to work through. And then once you graduate, you get to upgrade in different levels of consciousness. People can be in hell realms in human body and human form. I've seen the hell realms. The hell realms exist. They're gnarly. They're not for the faint of heart, but people experience hell like here in this body, in this experience.
Right?
And it is our birthright to experience heaven on earth in this lifetime.
Yeah.
And so you can create heaven in this experience.
Yeah. Um, Most of my guests, they were near-death experiencers and mediums, but I had one guest. He went to hell, Dominic Morrow. He describes this hell experience in such a vivid detail. You can make a movie. They're probably gonna make a movie because Hollywood likes that kind of stories. I mean, it's I can't describe it because it's crazy. Just for an hour and a half, he was just pouring that information, what he's seen in hell. And when I see the comments, most of the comments are from people who believe in Jesus,
Mhm.
probably Baptist, probably Catholic, or Christians.
Organized
Mm.
religion of
Yeah,
some
yeah,
sort.
most of them, because it's been taught, the hell is been taught in these religions. And most of my comments come from there. Praise Jesus, I'm saved, I'm going to be good, and stuff like that, which is very good. I mean, I got some comments from spiritual people say this is all lie and he's just imagined and all that.
There
My
are
take,
hell realms,
yeah,
and
my take on this is this: if he's delivering this testimony and it's going to scare some gangsters, look at what's happening around the world right now. How much insanity! He's going to straighten some paths. He's going to correct some people, some criminals, some crazy people. Then he has this mission accomplished. Maybe
I
he
got
came
goosebumps everywhere on that.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
he came back for this testimony just for this, so he can scare. Because otherwise, they don't understand. They don't understand true love. There's two energies, fear and love. They don't understand true love. They got to experience the fear so they can become more righteous. I don't know.
yeah.
What do you
I
think?
think that it's for me, it's I think it's fascinating that he experienced that and that he was courageous enough to share it, because I think oftentimes people are scared to one, listen to it, and two, to actually acknowledge that that is what it is. But not everybody's nice. And I'm not saying everybody's going to go to hell or anything like that. No, people create their own hell in their own life. And we torture ourselves, we torment ourselves in really different ways. And so for me, I've seen the hell realms in terms of like working with clients, or I have experienced them in dream form because of him. How do I say this, because it's a really complex thing for the amount of time that we have. I've experienced them through dreams because I was curious around what was happening to a loved one of mine. And so I went searching for it. And so, and, and I found it. I saw it. I experienced it. And so and that's what put me on this path too, in terms of like where I wanted to go deeper with it, is because I would dream about being killed or being tortured or being or someone being tortured or being killed. And so I wanted to get relief from those dreams, but I wanted to understand them, because dreams are either dreams that your subconscious is working through, or you're in a realm. And we have realms within realms within realms within realms that we can end up in, and not all realms are good.
Okay. Next question again to you or to the Akashic Records. Is this life we live in right now a simulation?
We are. I'm gonna
I'm
explain
hitting
it.
you with some difficult questions here. No,
It's
that's
because I
fine.
see it as a visual, and so the thing that I would the analogy I like giving on this is, you ever seen the movie Men in Black?
Yeah.
And at the end of the movie, they go into the locker, and there's a whole universe inside of that locker of beings, and that's their universe. There's universes within universes, and so we're within another universe, and so you can call it a simulation if you want, but we're within someone else's universe. Does that make sense, what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
we are in the thought of God.
Hmm.
So God taught us, God is still thinking us. In my 5 cents here. He's creating through us. And this is why some people call it a game. Let's say it's a game of God or the source. Some call it a simulation. Basically, we're all trying to find out what's going on, what's happening. All right. Next question. Again, we're talking to the Akashic Records, if
Yes.
possible. Who built the pyramids?
Those would be advanced beings that built the pyramids. So you can call them extraterrestrials. I don't like calling them that. So the Guardians are calling them advanced beings.
Okay. What the pyramids represent?
Advanced technology. They have a lot of advanced technology, and the ancient wisdom is accessible within the pyramids.
Yeah. Let's go to the next question then. How long it takes for a regular person to become awakened?
We spend our whole lifetime doing it. It's not a press a button, awake. Like, it's not like that. It's what they're showing me, and how I also like to explain it is it's like you get to go up an elevator of consciousness, and as you evolve, your consciousness evolves with you. With that also being said, your consciousness can go like this throughout the day, where it dips because you get your feelings get hurt, or um you start to spiral into something that doesn't serve you, or you start playing victim, or something bad happens, whatever it is. We can dip in consciousness, but just because you dip doesn't mean you stay there forever. It's just a dip in consciousness, and you can pep right back up, just like having our conversation. Like, I wasn't feeling well this morning, but I feel great. I'm like feeling energized because I'm talking to you, right? And so we can have these different levels of consciousness. And so it's a lifetime. It's a lifetime. You're here to fully embrace who you are and embody all of your power, if you're willing to if you're willing to be courageous enough to do so.
Now, another question for the Akashic Records or for you, Amy. How do people find their purpose in life?
This is I like this question, because part of finding your purpose is understanding that you have many purposes, and it's important to follow the energy that's presenting itself to you. So for me, like, if my heart is saying yes to something, I'm going to jump and I'm going to take a leap of faith. My heart is going to say, if my heart is saying no to something, I'm going to listen to that. Whenever I dishonor my yes and no, it never works out. But when I honor it, man, magical doors open up. And so part of finding your purpose and understanding your purpose is listening to your heart, is trusting your heart, following your heart, because your heart is a beacon of light that illuminates your path for you. It illuminates your destiny path. And sometimes we take the long way around on certain things, and sometimes we take the short way around on certain things. The main thing is to enjoy the journey that you're on, because you are meant to be on purpose.
Okay. Are there such things as mistakes in life, or everything is for purpose?
I, I there is a meaning and an experience in everything you have, and your soul, before you come here, says, I want to have certain experiences. Not all of those experiences are quote unquote beautiful and perfect. They are experiences that can be gut wrenching, and it's so that your soul can evolve, so that you can learn how to be a better communicator, or you can learn how to find forgiveness, or you can learn how to find empathy. Whatever it is, you're here to evolve. You're here to have beautiful experiences, miraculous experiences, and you're also here to meant to have experiences that make you grow. And it's how you choose to react to those experiences that yields the reality that you're in.
Okay, why some people have such a beautiful experiences in their lives? They have such a glorious lives, and some have just miserable lifestyle. How do you explain that?
You don't know what someone's experiencing internally or behind closed doors. Just because their life looks perfect and beautiful doesn't mean that they don't have challenges. And it it is important to understand that, like, Just because two people or three people grow up in the same household doesn't mean they're all going to turn out to be perfect individuals. And we're not reaching for perfection. What you're reaching for is growth and evolution. And you will never know what someone is experiencing internally just because they're showing that they're joyful and happy. Some of the most beautiful, most funny people that looked like they were happy took their lives. You don't know what they were dealing with internally. And so it's important not to compare, because you're not comparing on a fair level.
Yeah, like Robin Williams, the actor.
Exactly. That's exactly who I was thinking about.
Yeah. I'm going to give another example. King Charles, or King Carl, he calls himself right now, the King of England. He seems to be in the top of the world. I mean, he's a king, but he's got pancreatic cancer. I don't know if you know about that. It's in the news. So you see, we don't know what he's going through.
Mhm.
He's sitting on a throne as a king, but then internally he may be suffering a lot. He may be jealous of a beggar on the street who is healthy.
Exactly. You don't know. Just because you are rich and famous doesn't mean that you have the most beautiful, perfect life. I actually think the royal family has a super complicated life. There are so many
Yeah,
rules and so many things that have to happen. I wouldn't want that life. Like I really wouldn't. And I wouldn't wish that life on myself, like, or on anyone, just because it's a very complicated uh, web that they are in, that they've been in, and their family has been in for a very long
yeah.
time. And, you can be rich and you can be a king. Doesn't mean that your physical body isn't going to break down. And the thing about the physical body, and sometimes I think this gets people in trouble in the spiritual community, especially healers, where they're like, my something's wrong, but I'm a healer, or something's wrong, but I'm spiritual. This shouldn't be happening. Well, you're having that experience for a reason. What is that experience teaching you, and how can you grow from it? And that will be the catalyst, possibly, in your healing process. Because I know for me, like, when I've had health issues, it's I'm taking on other people's problems, I'm taking on other people's energy, I'm processing my family lineage in a way that I shouldn't be processing it, or I'm not processing my anger properly. And so it's not about being perfect, it's about being human. And it's about being okay with being human.
Okay, when you contact the Akashic Records, what do you feel? Do you feel beautiful inside? Do you feel peaceful? Or do you feel a little bit, anxious? What's your feeling?
No, it's a calm. It's a like a homey feeling, like I'm hanging out with loved ones, and they're surrounding me and they're giving me love. And I'll often tell my students, if you don't have questions or you're just in a mood, just go in there and tell them to love on you. Like it's a very calm, peaceful feeling. It's a coming home feeling.
Okay.
That's the feeling I have. Some people feel other things, but it's usually not anxious. If it's anxious, it's because they're working through that something that they're wanting to bring up that the guardians can help them with.
Okay, one more question for the Akashic Records. Does life go on forever?
The soul has its journey. The soul is eternal if the soul wants to be eternal. And your soul has an eternal journey. That does not mean that journey is always in human form. It's in many different forms, and it's what the soul is evolving into is based on the form it takes.
Okay. Now, if people want to find more about you, about your work, about what you do, would you like to share that here?
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you're interested, my name is Amy Robeson. You could go to my website, theamyrobeson.com, which is TheamyRoB as in boy, E as in Edward, S as in Susan, ON as in Nancy.com. You can also check out, I have a YouTube channel, Amy Robeson, a podcast called Awakening with Amy Robeson. And I have a free gift for your listeners if they're interested. It's theamyrobeson.com/free, and you can sign up for our 20 plus free healings. They're all healings that I've done in the Akashic Records that you get access to. And I'm always running like free webinars and masterclass series throughout the year as well.
Okay, and one last question. It's about the name of my show. What's your definition of freedom?
Ooh, I, I love freedom. I romanticize freedom just because I think it's such a yummy thing. And for me, the definition of freedom is the feeling you get that when you let me paint a picture because it's not necessarily a feeling. Do you remember the first time? Do you have your driver's license?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember the first time you got your driver's license and you could go somewhere in a car? Like,
Yeah.
to me, that is a new level of freedom. So throughout our lifetime, we get these new different levels of freedom. And we get to experience those levels throughout our lifetime of what that freedom feels like. Whatever that is and whatever you're striving for, freedom is always what we're striving towards, along with like our soul's evolution and things like that. But it's this sense of freedom that we get to have and get to be. But sometimes our perception of the world doesn't allow us to be as free as we want to be because we're basing our identity or our perception based on all of these things that we experienced throughout our lifetime that created our reality that took away our freedom. And so to me, freedom is remembering